This is a murder case, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So there's no wiggle room in negotiations, I'm assuming.
I don't know a whole lot about it. I did deny bond, and my recollection is it's not a case that the state's particularly worried about proving up. So I don't know that there are a lot of negotiations.
Right.
But we'll see. That's nothing that would happen today, of course. But let's engage Mr. Hairston on this and see what he has to say, if we could bring him out. And he can, Mr. Walker, you okay if he just sits right next to you as opposed to going to the podium? Great. Do you mind turning the microphone on if you just put your finger in that little?
It's ready.
It seems on. Okay. That light should be green, but it's working. Great.
Okay.
All right. It's double on now. Thank you. And you don't need to take this down, Ms. Rivers. We're just speaking informal. Thank you.
I just noticed them.
Oh, those are new. They're here. Those are power strips. You no longer need to go underneath the table to plug something in. You see, there's a USB port and plugs. That's your new way to stay connected. Fantastic.
I'll talk with this.
Yeah.
Were they here this morning?
I don't know. They're new. We ordered them recently because they were in another courtroom, and they're phenomenal because it's a pain to have to go under there. Yeah. Hey, you're welcome. All right. Mr. Hairston.
Yes, sir.
It's Judge McBurney. Haven't seen you in a while. You doing okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good. I need to give you an update about your lawyer. You originally had Ms. Miller. You remember Ms. Miller?
Yes, sir.
And Ms. Miller needed to come off your case for medical reasons. And she had a colleague of hers, not meaning someone in her law firm, but a friend of hers who's a very experienced lawyer, Mr. Johnson, take over representation in your case. And I know that you and Mr. Johnson at least have connected virtually. I don't know if he came to visit you ever, but he only recently came on. And it turns out, and it's just a bad series of coincidences, he is very ill now and is going to need to come off your case. And I share that with you not to say, gosh, you're now stuck for a whole bunch of months with nothing happening. But I need you to have a conversation with your family or whoever it was who helped fund Ms. Miller, because Ms. Miller was retained counsel, to see if your family or friends or supporters are interested in hiring someone else, or if I should appoint someone to represent you. The gentleman sitting next to you is a private attorney. I'm not appointing him. He is a very close friend of Mr. Johnson, who is now very, very ill. And he and the person you can see on the screen, that's Mr. Richardson, they're both close friends with Mr. Johnson and have agreed on an emergency basis to stand in for him, not to take a case to trial, or at least not right away. They have both said, we will help, but if it's a trial, we have our other work we're doing, and it would be many months before they'd be in a position to handle your case at trial. But they are here today just to make sure I stay in the lanes and don't say, tell me about your case, which I'm not going to do. But I do need you to either talk with friends or family or whoever your resource base is about whether they want to bring someone else on board or if I should appoint an attorney. And of course, if I appoint an attorney, it's going to be an experienced defense attorney who's handled cases before. That's what would be the norm, in fact, in this courtroom, is that it would be an appointed lawyer. But it's your case, and I don't make that decision for you. You need to think about it, and as I said, talk with people who are supporting you through this process. And then I will bring you back to court. And we'll have either Mr. Richardson or Mr. Walker either sitting right there with you or on a screen, just so they're making sure that I'm talking to you just about representation and not, tell me what happened that night in your case, which I would never do, but you need a temporary lawyer to be with you while we have this conversation. I'm laser focused on how are we going to get a lawyer on board for you. And it's either you bring one on board because you retain that person, meaning you pay for it, or I appoint one. And there are lawyers who are ready to be appointed to handle your case. But I need to hear from you how that's going to work out. And you may know right now, the bank is empty. There is no more money. And then I'll get someone appointed in the next couple days. But I wanted to give you a chance to talk to some people if you wanted to talk to some people about retaining someone for your case. Is there anything I've said that confuses you or doesn't make sense?
Oh, Your Honor.
No? Okay. It's a bad series of circumstances, and it is truly purely coincidental. Ms. Miller is doing better. She's not able to come back on your case. Mr. Johnson is in a real bad spot, and he is not going to be able to come back onto your case. And that's why we reached this point, and why Mr. Walker and Mr. Richardson were getting me up to speed, letting me know the limit of their ability to help out. They can be physically present, and if you have questions, Mr. Walker can go back there and talk to you freely about it, and will be in confidence. But he doesn't know the facts of your case, and wouldn't unless he's the lawyer that you ended up hiring. He's not someone I could appoint. He's got his own book of business. But what he shared with me is that that book is very full. And so if he were brought on board, it would be a number of months before he could do anything to move your case along. The state remains ready to go to trial, and my goal would be to get you a lawyer, again, unless you hire one, who'll be ready sooner rather than when Mr. Walker could be ready to go. Does that make sense? Would you like to talk with Mr. Walker for a minute about the situation?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Walker, are you comfortable having a conversation with Mr. Hairston about it? No, making clear, Mr. Walker couldn't tell you the name of the victim in this case. That's not, I didn't ask him to get up to speed on it. I asked him to be physically present so that if you had a procedural question, or you may want to know, like, gosh, what would it cost for a case like this? Mr. Walker has years of experience saying, you're not going to get a lawyer if you're going to pay for one that you'd want to hire for less than X. Or if a lawyer's quoting you this price, say no way, because it shouldn't cost that much. He can give you advice like that. He's just not going to know anything about the facts of your case. Okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Walker, anything else you think I should cover with Mr. Hairston right now?
Judge, I think you've covered it all. Rick, what do you think?
I agree.
Okay.
I'll go back and speak with him.
Good. Thank you for taking time to do this. And Mr. Richardson and Mr. Walker, we'll let you know what the plan is. If you learn by talking to Mr. Hairston about his finances and his family's finances that there's no way they could get someone on board, share that with me, and then I will let both of you know once we've got someone appointed. Obviously, there'll be an entry of appearance anyway, but this then would be a case you could cross off the list of things you're trying to do this triage on.
Okay.
Okay?
Sure.
All right.
Thank you, Judge.
Mr. Hairston, I'm sorry this has happened. This isn't anything anyone's doing intentionally. It is a strange series of coincidences that are unfortunate, obviously, for these lawyers who are not well, but for you, you've been in jail for a long time and you're just looking for closure, whether that means it's a trial or a plea, if that's something that can be worked out. But for either of those to happen, we got to get that lawyer who knows the facts of your case and can give you real solid advice on, whoa, you do not want to go to trial, or let's do it, and here's what our defense is. Okay? All right, take your time with Mr. Walker. He'll come back out here and let me know, not anything confidential you discuss with him, but maybe where we're going in terms of representation. Okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
All right, Eric, you can give me a call back when you finish, all right?
Yes, I'll give you a call back.
Mr. Richardson, thank you for joining us.
You know what until he gets done, or might be excused.
You can, we'll let you know what's happening. We may wrap up real soon if we don't have Ms. Young anyway, but we'll figure that out.
Understood.
Okay?
Thanks so much.
How voluminous is discovery?
It's manageable. It's still limited, but it's not overwhelming.
Okay.
Want this,
Okay. All right. Thank you. Mr. Clare,
Sir.
how are you?
Yeah.
I'm doing well. Appreciate your patience. I've signed everything, so you can have another go at this. My staff attorney observed that you got one of these affidavits before, but I guess you didn't file it in time, so we had to redo this again. Are you ready to file?
Yes.
Good. All right, make sure you do that, and good luck with everything.
Thanks a lot.
All right. All right, Mr. Melnick, last call for your client.
So Judge, I've been communicating with my client, with Ms. Dilligard and with Ms. Nelson. She is on the way. She wasn't able to download Zoom onto her phone. I will say she sent me a screenshot showing that she kept getting a message saying Safari cannot open the page because the address is invalid when she was putting in the zoom.us. It could be because she has an older operating system on her phone, in all honesty. But in any event, what Ms. Nelson had told me is that you are presiding this week. So I told Ms. Powell to stop trying with Zoom since it's clearly not working, and that she could be on the way. Judge, with regard to the actual substance of today, I'd gotten an offer from Ms. Dilligard yesterday. It's an offer that does involve some jail time, not a lot. Just so you know, the offer I think was 10 to serve 2. But that's the first offer I'd gotten in the case. So I don't believe that it's something we would resolve at final plea anyway. Let me rephrase that. It's something that could be resolved at final plea, but I need to give my client a little more time to kind of go over what her various options are for final plea. So what I was actually going to ask you to do is just hold final plea open until April the 3rd, which is the calendar call, the trial calendar call for this case.
Did Ms. Powell think she didn't need to be down here today, or how did we end up in this situation?
It's a good question. So I had texted her last Thursday saying, please be in court, March 11th at 1:30. I got a text message from her today saying her phone had water damage and that she didn't know, and she's trying to get her phone fixed. That message was sent to me at 12:05. I was in DeKalb County, and I just got through when I logged on to your Zoom call here. And then I texted her and said, just, get it on Zoom. But then she had problems with that.
Got it. Okay. Ms. Dilligard, what's your thought about telling Ms. Powell to turn around, doesn't need to come down here, and we just keep her final plea rights open up through the trial calendar call date?
Judge, I would have no objection to that.
Okay. Mr. Melly, do you think you can reach her so she doesn't have to come all the way down here?
Yes, Judge. Yeah, her phone seems to be working now, so.
Of course.
Yeah.
All right, let her know that she will need to be at the trial calendar call in person, not virtually, not on a phone that's not working, but physically here in court. I'll keep the final plea rights open through that day. So if the offer is the same, by then you'll be able to talk to her about how it could be a blind plea and she can withdraw, all that stuff. But she'll also need to be ready to roll on into trial for the trial week associated with that calendar.
And is that the following week, Judge? The week of April the 7th, or is it the week after that, the week of April the 14th, or do you know?
I do know, and it's the week of the 14th and the week of the 21st. So we'll be able to fit you in unless you've got 2 full weeks of leave.
I do not.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So 2-week calendar, 14th and 21st.
Thank you, Judge. I'll let Ms. Powell know she can turn around.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think that's it. Anyone have anything else? Nope. Everyone's nodding their head. We're done. All right. Thank you, Ms. Jackson. I will see you maybe Thursday is our trial calendar. That's probably the next day. We've got something.
All
Yep.
right. Thank you, Judge. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.